Would you rather knit only continental or have your yarn get tangled every time you knit? Hi guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits. I just finished a project that has taken me 2 months. My Farnham sweater was recently just cast off the needles and now it is being washed and blocked. And I can't believe it took me 2 months because I was really, the first month that I was working on it, I was just flying through and I was really thinking I was gonna finish early, but it took me 2 whole months to finish this sweater, which is okay, which is great. But now I'm in like that weird limbo of projects where it's like I haven't really thought about what my next project is because I was really stopping myself from even thinking about it because I really didn't want to get distracted. You know, when you get really excited about whatever project's coming next, you tend to abandon the project that you're currently working on, or you just finish it way too quickly, you know, like you do whatever you can to get it off the needle. So I just didn't want that to happen. I really wanted to make sure that the Farnham sweater was going to get the attention that it deserved throughout the entire process of making it. So I really haven't given it any thought what, for me, my next project would be and what I wanted to kind of get on the needles, which is not good because I wanted to sit down and knit and chat with you guys. And, you know, I need something to knit on for a knit and chat. Interestingly, we were talking about last time that I don't really have any knitted cardigans in my wardrobe, which is true and false. I have 2 or 3. I have 3 knit cardigans and handmade. I have the Vivian cardigan, which I was wearing the garter stitch one. And then I have 2 cardigan number 7s that I made. Those are the ones that have lasted in my wardrobe that are still around. The first one that I made, I'm only keeping for memory's sake at this point because it was made with drops air and a strand of mohair that I really don't like the mohair because it made the garment very itchy as I continued to wash it and wear it. With time, it's Diablo mohair from Hobby. That mohair just gets so scratchy and it just doesn't wear very well. And then on top of that, the drops air doesn't really wear very well either. It's just very fluffy. It pills a lot. And so I wanted to preserve that garment. And so it is under my bed in storage, safely zipped up. And it's just not something that I grab for. Then I have the other cardigan number 7 that's in my wardrobe, this one right here. And if you've been around for a while, you know that this has a story to it. It is a combination of yarn that gave me so much heartache. And not for any particular reason other than me. I'm the one to blame. I was too indecisive of what I wanted this combination to be. Eventually it became a cardigan number 7. And when I cast it off and when I was working on this project, I felt so good about it. I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what this is meant to be. It's just so, it's the perfect, easy to throw on type of cardigan. The color is great. Gray goes with everything. And then I paired it with, it's the fuzzy yarn by We Are Knitters. And that has little, it's kind of like a mohair, I guess. And it has little neps in it. So it made it look very tweedy. So the fiber or the fabric became this nice little tweedy gray, which the base is just a plain gray wool with a little variation in the color. I think it's just 100% wool. I lost the label. I'm not 100% sure what that fiber was. I know it was wool, but I don't know like what brand or anything, but it was just a plain old gray. And then I jazzed it up with pairing it with the fuzzy yarn. It was meant to be so many different projects. This is probably the combination of yarn that I have frogged the most in my knitting lifetime. So when I finally figured it out that I wanted to make a cardigan number 7, I was like, perfect. This is it. I'll never have to touch this again. Until today. Today I'm deciding that I kind of want to go back into this project, which if you would have asked me at the time of finishing, or just even a couple of years ago, just in general, would I go back into a finished object and tweak it to make it that much better? I would have told you no. I would have said, you're crazy. But there's just something about this cardigan that I really cannot get over. It's too much. So really what's the issue is that I was only working with a very limited amount of fiber. And that led me to having to kind of make the sleeves a little shorter than I think the pattern recommends. And at the time I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. But it's really, really bothering me so much that I don't wear this because I hate the way that the sleeves sit. I actually thought, or at the time, maybe it's because my style has changed, but I don't really like balloon sleeves anymore. I do prefer a little bit of shaping. It could be just because that this is the sleeves are much shorter than they should be. Maybe that's why I don't really like the balloon sleeve. But then again, I also just don't think that it's a style for me anymore. So what I want to do is add shaping. I just want to do some decreases down the sleeves. I'll cut into the sleeves, do some decreases, and maybe then I can also gain some extra length because less stitches, more yarn. Then maybe there'll be a length that I'm actually happy with. That's the hope anyway. So we're gonna do that today. And at the same time, since this is something that I normally would never have done, I asked you guys over on Instagram if you had any would you rather knitting related questions. And I'm gonna go through some of those because you guys sent me some really puzzling ones. So I'm gonna go into them and rapid fire answer them. And if you wanna play along, I'm also going to leave all of the would you rather questions in the description. If you wanna leave a comment and answer those or just discuss about any of them, please feel free to do so. I would love to hear what you guys think as well. So first things first, I need to kind of figure out how much longer do I want it, and then how much tighter do I want it as well. There's a lot of fabric here, so I think I can get away with a lot of decreases. So it's about 36 centimeters. That's pretty cropped. 36 centimeters. I can't really remember though if I made any modifications to the stitch count. So that's the only thing. I could look back at the pattern, but then I don't want to work on something like wrong information. I don't want to work on wrong information. So I'm going to cut, hopefully not sacrifice too much yarn, and unravel. And then we should be ready to get started. Yeah, so now that I'm just frogging this, I can get into some of those would you rather questions. Starting off with a pretty tough one. Knit with 2 random twigs or frog an entire mohair sweater. Mohair only. So this is mixed with mohair, and well, I think honestly because I've frogged it so many times, it just is behaving itself. This isn't very difficult, but an entire mohair sweater, I would not do that. I would not do that, I can tell you. I wouldn't even fix it if I hated the sleeves. I can tell you I would just chop off where I don't like it and then start fresh. I wouldn't frog. I would go with a fresh new skein of mohair. So I'd rather knit with 2 random twigs. And honestly, I think that would be kind of funny to do, like random household items and see which one is the best. That's a video idea. Super speedy knitting abilities or never make a mistake. Oh gosh. Now, it kind of depends on what the degree of the mistake is. Because if it's really jarring, it's going to prevent me from wearing whatever it is I'm making. Or it's going to prevent me from displaying it, depending on what it is, right? Then again, if it's an accessory, I would definitely frog, you know. But never make a mistake. Speedy knitting. Oh, whoops. I think I would rather never make a mistake because I've just really learned to slow down my knitting. And I don't really care about being super fast. I think that also kind of takes some of the joy out of it, at least for me. While I really do thrive or feel really great when I finish an object and it's just off the needles and I don't have to, I don't know, there comes a point in a project when it's just taking way too long and it kind of demoralizes you in a way. That's kind of dramatic, but you know what I'm talking about. Like you're bored, you want to move on, but you also don't want to have the guilt of letting a project go or leaving it in the corner and never to touch it again. So I think I would rather never make a mistake, just because then I wouldn't have to revisit parts of a project, because that I think makes me feel worse. Like if I have to continually frog and fix things, yeah, that kind of breaks me down a little bit worse than a project taking too long. Knit with only one type of yarn or only one needle size. That's really tough. Because on the one hand, if you only knit with one needle size, you can use so many different types of yarn. You don't even have to just use a certain type of weight. You could combine yarns together, which is fun on its own. Or only one type of yarn. Now, is it one type as in only wool? Or is it one type as in, I don't know, let's say, drops air. I couldn't remember what this was. Drops air, for example. I wouldn't want to knit with that for the rest of my life. I think I'm kind of over that fuzzy, blown type of yarn, at least for now. So I think I would want to knit with the same needle size. And I think, surprisingly, I would go for like a needle size 4. I like needle size 4. I think I like the fabric that it produces, and yeah. I wouldn't go with a chunky needle, that's for sure. On the flip side, knit with a color that you hate or only a fiber that you hate. I've learned that color really does impact me and my projects and how I feel about it. So much that, you know, that green cashmere sweater, I loved the fiber. The fiber felt so nice. And as far as the quality went, it was really, really great yarn to work with. But the color looked awful. It didn't. It's really nice. It's a really nice color. I just knew that I was never going to wear it. And I personally just didn't like the color for me and my wardrobe, my preferences. It wasn't necessarily that it wasn't a nice color, but I just, every time I looked at it, knew that it was not going to be something that I would reach for, you know? So it really made me not want to continue on with the project. That's also in combination with the fact that I think I was freestyling. Well, I definitely was freestyling it. And I think that maybe since I wasn't following a pattern, I had to make decisions on my own that nobody else could help me with. So I think that also kind of played into it at the end of the day. But the color definitely, I think, was the kicker in me deciding, okay, I'm just not going to use, or I'm not going to work on this anymore. And you know, I have a really good update for you guys. I didn't share anything about this on here, but on Instagram, I decided ultimately that I was going to get rid of that project. Because in my UFO video, I said that I was going to keep it and work on it and finish it. I tried, you guys. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm not interested in working on it. And so then I asked somebody, I put like a question box on Instagram. I said, whoever is like the first one, all you have to do is come to me, answer this questionnaire, and I will give you the project. And somebody claimed it, and they were here in Belgium. Clara, thank you so much. She actually finished her project, so it's already in good use now. Yeah, I would knit with a fiber that I hate, but then I don't know, would that actually bother me too? What's worse? I'm going to say color just because I think that's what I can relate to, although I have worked with fibers that I absolutely cannot stand. And I threw it in the trash. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, fine. Color that I hate. I will work with a color that I hate if it's like a cashmere or something really easy that glides off the needles. That I could work with. Straight or circular needles. Circular needles all day, and I'll tell you why. Because with straight needles, you don't have the versatility. Circular needles, you can still knit on straight, flat projects, and it actually helps. Like, why am I going like this? It actually helps my elbows personally. I felt like straight needles actually weigh down my hands a little bit, especially as the project grows. So unless you're working on things that are really small and lightweight, it actually is better, I think, ergonomically speaking, for you to use circular needles because you're not so rigid. DPNs or magic loop? I've just recently gotten comfortable with magic loop, so I will say magic loop. But I'm also equally comfortable with DPNs, so to be honest, I could take or leave both. Knit a pattern you hate with yarn that you love, or knit a pattern you love with yarn that you hate. I think I would rather... Oh man, that's a tough one. That one's really hard because, the pattern could be confusing. And I'm going to say like, okay, I'd have to follow it to a T. There's no way that I can just get around. There's no way that I could get around by, freestyling a segment. I'd have to follow the pattern to a T with yarn that I hate, or follow a pattern that I know that I love, that's a lot of fun to work with, but the yarn is terrible. What would bother my knitting experience more? I feel like if things are too complicated, or if things are just, I don't understand it and I just can't stand the instructions itself, or maybe the way that the garment would look at the end, I think that would bother me more, because knitting is supposed to be more relaxing for me, It's not really something that I want to have all these like negative emotions about. So I think I would choose the yarn that I hate, because at the end of the day, at least I'm working on something that, is kind of bringing me joy, and I could kind of maybe look at it like it's just an extra challenge on top of, I don't know. Okay, make a second swatch or eat gravel. Honestly, it's not that I don't like swatching, it's just that I don't do it. I guess it's not that I hate it, it's that I don't do it. And then it's just like, I don't really have a place to display my swatches in like a cute way anymore. So what's the point? I know you're supposed to, you get a lot of information out of the swatch, and I definitely agree with that. I think swatching is important. Although if I said anything otherwise, I wouldn't be a very good influence, I feel like. But yeah, it's good, but I don't do it. So I'm just like every other knitter out there, I think. But there are some who are really responsible and will swatch for everything multiple times over. I'm just not one of those people. Will I eat gravel? No, I would definitely knit a second swatch because I don't want to do that to my teeth. Frog for perfection or fix along the way. I'm 100% a person who will do the quick fixes as I'm working, because I don't want to have wasted the time that I already put into the piece. There is like exceptions for that, of course. There's that, but that's against the would you rather thing. But I will just say, like, if it's a really, really bad mistake, I will frog. Like for example, when I was working with half fisherman's rib, that I had to frog because I could not for the life of me figure out how to ladder down and fix it in pattern like that. That was too much for my brain to kind of comprehend. So it does depend on what the stitch is, but if I have to say one or the other, I would fix along the way. or just let it go. Okay, here's another one. There's a lot of ultimatums about fiber choices. So knit one color but with texture, or plain stockinette with multiple colors. I think I would knit plain stockinette with multiple colors because I'm, again, like a more meditative knitter. I really like to get into a groove and not really focus on my knitting. And I really, really love stripes. Stripes have done a lot for my sock knitting mojo. If you are having a hard time with a certain type of project, but you want to get good at working on that type of project, maybe try self-striping or adding in stripes to the project, because just seeing the project grow with the stripes is a lot of fun and was kind of a way for me to get through knitting socks, because it's just fun to see the fabric change. And when you're knitting in stripes, you're only like, okay, I only need to knit 3 rows of this color, and then I can switch to the next color. And it almost tricks your brain into thinking that you have more progress, or you're getting through more a lot faster, which is a lot of fun and really good for me. Only knit seamed or paneled garments, or only use needles under 3 millimeters. My seaming has come a long way. So my ability to sew together panels, I recently started another project that I'm using swatches for, actually. So since I don't have really a place to display my swatches, I wanted to do one of those patchwork project bags with the swatches that I've seen over on Instagram. And I seamed all those together. I sewed with, is it the invisible seaming technique? And it was actually a lot of fun. But since I'm a garment knitter, I would definitely say that I'd rather knit with 3 millimeter needles, just because that really does stall me at the end of the day. That I hadn't finished a lot of those wool in the gang projects that I had knit up. Like maybe 1 or 2 I had off the needles for a really long time, but I never got around to actually sewing it all together. So that definitely stops me, because it's just an extra step that I have to kind of be in the mood to do. Whereas if I'm knitting in the round on 3 millimeter needles, yes, it would take me longer than maybe whatever I knit the paneled garment with, but at least I wouldn't have that extra step that would, probably make it take even longer, like just because it's in the round, I'll probably get through it faster, even if it is on a smaller set of needles, as compared to knitting with chunkier needles and having it a paneled garment. So, okay, I already went through all the ones that I had reserved, so now I need to go into Instagram. Would you rather knit in all neutrals or all color? All neutrals for sure. Would you rather knit cables or lace? I haven't done a lace project, so I can't really say if I would prefer that. So I would have to go with cables, but I think I want to be part of the ranunculus club. I feel like you're not a knitter until you've knit a ranunculus, and I actually saw some yarn in my stash that I think would work, but that I could use the ranunculus to get out of my stash. So I think I'm gonna do that. Would you rather knit only baby clothes forever or only clothes for myself? Well, that's tough. On the one hand, I really love the fact that baby clothes are so quick off the needles. On the other hand, I like making stuff for myself. And there are a lot of cute baby patterns out there. But there are more adult patterns that I would want to knit, I think, that are in my to knit wish list. So I think I would go with knitting stuff for myself. Would you rather knit only continental or have your yarn get tangled every time you knit? Well, I cannot stand tangled yarn. I cut it. I can't handle it. So I would have to learn continental. I don't know how to continental knit. I'm an English knitter through and through, and I don't want to change my knitting style. But if it meant that I didn't have to deal with tangled yarn, I would definitely give continental a try. That would definitely be an incentive for me to give it a try. Sleeve island or second sock? Sleeve island is hard, but second sock is worse. So if you're asking, I don't really know. Is it, yeah, I think I would rather do Sleeve Island. Sorry, I had to kind of understand what you were asking me. I think I would rather tackle sleeves than a second sock, to be honest, which is wild because socks are so small. And yet the second sock syndrome is so real for me. Even my husband, he knows exactly what second sock syndrome is. And I finished one pair of socks recently. And when I finished the first pair, I started casting it on. And you know what he said? He was like, yeah, you cast those on. You don't want to get second sock syndrome. And I looked over at him like, wow, how did you know what that was? Because sometimes I put knitting podcasts on, or if I'm, I don't know, just talking about it or editing something and he hears something that I say, I guess he's paying a lot more attention than I thought he was. Would you rather knit summer or winter clothes? I'm definitely a winter garments knitter. I really don't like spring, summer patterns. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that I'm never really interested in knitting them. I would love to have them in my wardrobe, but those are not really the projects that I want to cast on the needles. I've knit a couple of camisoles and I have really enjoyed them and I got use out of them too. It's not my number one project. I think doesn't matter what season it is, I'm really always working on sweater projects or cardigans and that sort of thing. And I think that really excites me. I would also probably venture more towards t-shirts and like sweaters like this, like easy long sleeve one, like not really bulky is what I'm trying to say. And that would work, I think, for all seasons. So as long as it's versatile for multiple seasons, I think I would prefer that. And I can get away with a lot because in Belgium, I mean, it's almost May now and it's chilly outside still. So summer knits are not really a thing for me here. Maybe that's also why I'm not really interested in them, because I only really need tank tops for a short period of the year. And even then, yeah, why waste the time? Maybe they just wouldn't get as much. I wouldn't get to show them off as much. Maybe that's why it's not really interesting to me. I'm not sure. I just don't really like summer yarn. I don't really like cotton and I don't really like linen. I don't really like what silk. No, I don't like bamboo. I don't know if that was the fiber that I was trying to say that I didn't like, but a lot of summer yarn I'm just not a fan of. So for knitting purposes, like I don't like the feel of it on the needles, and then I just don't really like the fabric. I'm not crazy about it, but maybe it's also I haven't used the right kind. Like I haven't tried the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. I would love to try that. That would be nice. Yeah, so maybe that's the issue. I haven't found the right yarn for the season. Would you rather frog a fingering weight roving sweater or have a wool sweater shrink? Have the wool sweater shrink. Like I said, frogging anything in a difficult fiber is just not worth my time. And finally, have to knit all your projects flat and sew them together or never buy another petite knit pattern ever again. Yeah, I don't know, that's tough actually. Because I said I wouldn't do paneled knitting. Yeah, I'd probably just buy. Yeah, but then I wouldn't even be able to knit the petite knit patterns if I could only knit flat. So either way, I don't get to knit her patterns. I guess I would never buy a petite knit pattern ever again. I could find another designer. I think that she creates good stuff, but there are a lot of great designers out there. So just because I end up knitting all of her patterns doesn't mean that I don't appreciate other designers and won't knit any other designers. It's just worked out that way. And this is my favorite things knitwear design. So I can knit other designer patterns, and I can freestyle some too. So I'd be okay with that. Yeah, I've been talking for a really long time and I haven't really done anything on my sweater. So this is just going to be a project that I hope is going to just be a nice interim, quick fix type of project. It's on chunkier needles, and it's a project that, again, I could see myself wearing, and I just felt like it was such a shame that I wasn't wearing this cardigan, because really the only thing that was stopping me was the sleeves. So I'm hoping that this will actually fix it. And I'm hoping that the calculations that I did will work out to a nice tapered sleeve that I can feel really good about wearing. Yeah, as you can see, I didn't really get very far because I didn't frog all the way. Like, this kind of looks like a lot of progress, but I didn't frog all the way. I think I might have done maybe 5 rows, maybe. And I'm really hoping that my tension is not off. I hope I'm using the right needle size. It's a little too soon to tell, but anyway, yeah, I was talking for like an hour and the camera's about to cut me off. I didn't get very far, but I hope you did on whatever it is you were working on. I had a lot of fun nonetheless, because these Would You Rather questions were really, really great. Thank you for submitting them. It was a lot of fun to go through these and answer them. And like I said, I will leave them in the description, everything that I answered. And if you would like to play as well, definitely leave that down below in the comments. I would love to read through them myself. So yeah, if you like this video, definitely give it a like. It really helps me out. And maybe subscribe if you'd like to stick around and you're new here, because we post knitting content videos. And if you like that sort of thing, you should definitely subscribe. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.